All right, today we're going to tell a story. And it's not just any story. It's the life story of the female reproductive system. We're going to follow it from its very first instruction, a single molecule, all the way through a journey that spans decades. It's a story of rhythm, preparation, and some pretty profound changes.
So, it all kicks off with our chromosomes, right? We've all heard about XX and XY, but it's so much more interesting than just a couple of letters. What's the real biological switch that gets this whole incredible story started?
To answer that, we have to start at the very, very beginning. I'm talking long before birth, deep in our genetic code. This is where the blueprint for the entire system gets drawn up.
Now get this, because it's one of the coolest facts in biology. Female is the biological default setting. Seriously, if an embryo doesn't have a Y chromosome with its specific gene, called SRY, the developmental road it goes down is automatically female. It's the original blueprint.
And you can see exactly how that blueprint gets built right here. Super early on, every single embryo has the same starting part, this primitive gonad. But in an embryo with two X chromosomes, the outer layer, the cortex, gets the signal to become an ovary. And without male hormones, the body's internal plumbing, these things called Mullerian ducts, just naturally develop into the uterus and fallopian tubes.
So, after birth, the whole system just waits. It lies dormant for years. And then comes the next chapter, this huge awakening where everything switches on and the body transforms. We all know it as puberty.
Puberty is basically the moment the entire system comes online. Those ovaries that have been quiet for like a decade, suddenly, boom, they get two massive new jobs. They have to start managing hormones and preparing the eggs that make reproduction a possibility.
And this whole awakening doesn't happen all at once. It's not like flipping a switch. It's a very predictable sequence of events. It usually starts with adrenal hormones, then breast development kicks in, then pubic hair, and the grand finale, about a year later, is menarche, the first period. And what's really interesting is that for a while, those first cycles are often anovulatory. That just means no egg is actually released. The system is still, warming up.
So what's the trigger? What's the secret password that starts all this? Well, the command comes straight from the brain. The hypothalamus starts releasing a hormone called GnRH. But not just steadily, it does it in these rhythmic pulses. And that pulse is the master signal that wakes up the whole system.
Okay, so the system's online. Now we get to the main job of the reproductive years, the menstrual cycle. And this isn't just one simple thing. It's this incredibly synchronized hormonal dance that prepares the body for a potential pregnancy, month in and month out.
The best way to wrap your head around the cycle is to think of it as two different stories happening at the same time, run by the same group of hormones. First, you've got the ovarian cycle. That's everything the ovary is doing to get an egg ready. And running right alongside it is the uterine cycle, which is how the uterus reacts to get a nice home ready for a possible embryo.
Let's look at the ovarian story. It's kind of like a three-act play. Act 1 is the follicular phase, where a follicle grows and pumps out a ton of estrogen. The climax of the play is ovulation, right around day 14, triggered by this huge surge of a hormone called LH that makes the follicle burst and release the egg. Then, in Act 3, the luteal phase, that leftover follicle transforms into something new called the corpus luteum, and it gets a new job as the main hormone producer.
Okay, so while all that drama is going down in the ovary, the uterus is basically getting a room ready for a guest. The estrogen from that growing follicle starts rebuilding the uterine lining. Then the progesterone from that new corpus luteum makes the lining all thick and cozy and ready for an embryo to implant. But if no guest shows up, no pregnancy, the hormone levels drop, the support is gone, and the lining is shed. And that is menstruation.
So if you want to boil it all down, here's the cheat sheet. The first half of the cycle, that's estrogen's world. It's all about building things up. The second half of the cycle is progesterone's territory. It's all about maintaining that environment and getting it ready. Two totally different hormonal worlds all in one cycle. So what happens when all of this monthly preparation actually meets its goal? Let's talk about the next chapter, pregnancy. This is the main event the whole system has been designed for.
Now just look at this number, 500. A female fetus starts out with over 7 million potential eggs. By the time puberty hits, it's down to around 300,000. And out of all of those, only about 500 will ever get their chance to be released. The odds are just absolutely wild.
So, remember that little progesterone factory, the corpus luteum? Normally, it's programmed to self-destruct after about 10 days, and that's what triggers a period. But if an egg gets fertilized and implants in the uterus, the whole script changes. The corpus luteum gets an urgent rescue signal that basically says, hold on, keep going. And that rescue signal is a hormone you've probably heard of, HCG. It's made by the brand new embryo, and it's basically the first message it sends to the mother's body. It's shouting, "Hey, I'm here. Don't get rid of the uterine lining." And yep, this is the exact hormone that's detected in a pregnancy test.
Now, the corpus luteum is the absolute hero of early pregnancy, but it can't carry that load forever. After about 6 to 8 weeks, there's a changing of the guard. The placenta is finally developed enough to take over as the main hormone factory, and it starts churning out the massive amounts of progesterone and estrogen needed to keep the pregnancy going.
But like any great story, this super complex, cyclical journey does have a final chapter. It's a totally natural programmed transition that signals the end of the reproductive years. It's called menopause.
So what actually causes it? You might think it's something incredibly complicated, but the reason is surprisingly simple. The ovaries just run out of the follicles that kickstart the whole monthly cycle. No more follicles means no more eggs maturing, no ovulation, no corpus luteum, and no more cycle of hormones. The clockwork just runs out of parts. And as those estrogen and progesterone levels drop, the body changes. The brain gets confused. It's not getting the hormonal feedback it expects. So it starts shouting louder, releasing way more follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH, trying desperately to get the ovaries to respond. And it's this huge hormonal shift that can cause symptoms like hot flushes.
And that brings our whole story full circle. I mean, think about it. From a default genetic setting, to a sleeping system woken up by a pulse from the brain, to a monthly rhythm that runs for decades, and then a quiet, programmed end. It is an absolutely incredible system. It kind of makes you wonder, right? What other incredible biological clocks are ticking away inside all of us, perfectly timed, that we don't even notice until their rhythm changes for good?